Haircut, huh?
Not
It just
bad.
looks short. It like looks shorter, so I noticed
Don't say that to me. I was really hoping you weren't going to say that to me.
that it looks shorter.
I told them not to make it shorter.
What did you ask them to make it? What, longer?
Said keep it good.
Keep it good.
I
And they
went
were
into a
like-
barber shop and I said
and they
it's good as it
understood
is.
what you meant.
Clearly not.
1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners,
Oh, very regal.
the only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest night calls us by our nicknames.
Which I
I'm Mickey to you.
and I'm fuck, shit, fuck, bugger, buggity, fuck, shit, and tits.
The only reason this movie is rated R is because of that scene, which is like kind of crazy.
That's incredible, honestly.
I'm Michael. He's this guy's Xander, and this is a podcast where every week we pick a Best Picture winner at random and try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy. And this week we finally did it. We've gotten to the cream of the crop. We're talking the 2011 Best Picture winner, The King's Speech, directed by Tom Hooper. Famously, his last movie was Cats, the movie that everybody kind of
Really?
ragged on when it came
no.
out.
That does not bode well.
No.
So he's kind of been lying low since then, I imagine.
I think he's been dodging the law ever since he put out Cats.
Okay. Yeah.
He's
that
kind of
tracks.
wanted for crimes. So the King's Speech is about, what the fuck's his name? King George VI, played by Colin Firth,
AKA
famously Birdie,
Albert.
who famously has had a stammer, and it, you know, it's really a movie about him trying to overcome his stammer or learning to control his stammer so that he could take the reins of being the fucking King of England.
Yeah.
Along the way, he gets helped by Lionel Logue, played by Jeffrey Rush, who's like a speech, not a doctor. They make
Not a
this
doctor.
very clear. And yeah, he helps him, and it's a very fucking simple movie.
He's kind of like he radiates sensei energy, Lionel.
yeah.
He's very much like, ooh, I got these unorthodox techniques that are going to help you. You'll be a better speaker for sure.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that framework because he is kind of like he's got like these little idiosyncrasies where he's like, we gotta be buds in order to fucking speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, his technique is
I'm going to have your
like,
wife sit on your chest in a normal platonic way.
Lionel's whole technique is like he's more of like almost like a talk therapist. He's like,
Lionel's
I need to know
technique
your
is like it's in your
trauma.
head.
I need to like know what caused the speech issue, and then we'll work back like forwards from there.
Right. And that's part of Albert or Birdie's hesitancy is that he doesn't want to open up to this basically complete stranger.
Yeah. This movie, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that that ends up being the thing that helps him in the end.
Yeah, totally. This movie is a lot in that way, is a lot like the Academy loves two guys have to work together. Like this movie is obviously it's different. You know, all the movies I'm about to name are different in their own way, but like they're kind of similar. It's Rain Man. It's fucking Green Book. It's probably going to be Driving Miss Daisy when we watch that.
Here's why I think it's different and a bit more surprising than those other movies.
I want you to be like, it's the most boring shit I've ever seen in my life.
No, I'm the opposite. I think King's Speech gets way too bad a rap. I think this is a great movie.
Oh, okay.
Because we're presented with the framework of, if you're coming into a historical nonfiction movie, there are certain expectations you have going into it. This is not about World War II or any of the bureaucratic dealings that would typically be associated with this genre. It's just about two guys, and one guy's figuring out how to be a better orator.
Yeah.
And I like that aspect of it. It's surprising. It kind of subverts your expectations in that way.
Yeah, totally. I think you like this movie more than I do. I do like it though. I think it's like totally good.
Yeah. Right.
It's not boring.
No.
I'm just making a joke about it being boring. Because I feel like if you told people what this movie's about, they'd be like, that sounds boring. But it like weirdly like I started the movie and then I looked up, I was like, oh shit, we're like almost near the end. It kind of like goes by. All the scenes are pretty interesting.
Yeah. There are maybe like a couple slower paced moments, but ultimately I agree. This is a very interesting and swift moving movie. It injects humor in all the right places. Like I feel like it strikes this perfect balance of funny and serious, where it's like I need some levity in some of this. That's what like a lot of the movies of the earlier decades of Oscar winners struggled with. Like, oh my gosh, I can't remember. From Here to Eternity, like, was also technically a World War II movie that wasn't really about World War II. But I think it just lacked a lot of levity. I think this one had it in spades. And I think it really helped it in terms of likability.
Totally.
Everybody talks about the fuck shit. The scene where he drops like 40 F-bombs. And it's very funny, but like everybody latches onto it. It's like, oh, this is the only good scene of the movie. There are other funny moments.
Yeah, I think both Colin Firth and especially Jeffrey Rush are really good in this movie.
Yeah, they're acting their hell off for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, where's Colin Firth at? Anybody get a read on him recently? I haven't seen him since this.
We get a welfare check on Colin Firth.
Yeah, we're gonna need a quick welfare check on Colin Firth. Hope he's doing well. Would love to have you on the show, bud.
Yeah, his performance. He won Best Actor this year.
Deserved.
I think the way he portrays his stammer is like so. You like feel it every time he's like trying to like express himself, because you're like, oh my god, it's just like fucking trapped in his mouth, and you get like anxious because you're like, oh my god, it's like right there, but like he's just like he has like this block that prevents him from being able to like connect thought to mouth.
Like, it's ironic because, you know, I'll speak for myself. Like, me as the viewer, I'm getting frustrated with his speaking, and it's like that's exactly what this movie is trying to say. Like, we're trying to humanize this person, and should we humanize monarchy? I don't know. That's another debate. But like, I'm sitting here thinking like I'm having trouble following this person's speech. I'm like, get it out. But that's the problem that he's facing in general, and I'm imposing that on him as the viewer, and it's kind of like a little it's almost like a little mirror held up to myself, where I'm like, oh, I should probably chill out, because that's exactly why this guy's facing so much anxiety.
Yeah, there's that really good scene where Michael Gambon, Dumbledore, plays King George V.
That's Dumbledore?
Yeah. There's that really good scene where King George V is giving like his Christmas broadcast, and Bertie is there, and then so they finish the broadcast, and then the king is like, hey, why don't you read what I just read, like try it, and then like Birdie's reading it, and like he keeps stammering, and like his dad is just like, come on, like, just get through it, like, and I'm like, this is the complete wrong way to do, like, approach
you're
it.
frustrated. Yeah,
And it's like, you can just like, you can like feel in Colin Firth's performance that this is what he's been dealing with his entire life, of just like his entire family, like fucking teachers, whoever, just picking on him incessantly because like they think it's just like, oh, just fucking speak properly. It's like, it's easy. I don't know why you can't do it.
right. Like this is like, you get the sense that this is the reason why it's perpetuated over so many years, is because of his home life and his family and kids at school and whatnot. Like everybody is just bullied him over this stutter that he has.
Yeah, and then there's that like really good scene where it's really sad when he's like finally kind of opening up to Lionel. I think it's just after his dad dies, and then his brother becomes the kind of he becomes king for like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
because he's his older brother. Where he's like, he talks about like, he's just describing a childhood trauma of like he had like a nanny who would like pinch him.
Yeah,
Because she just didn't like him, and he was like a fucking child, and like he would like visit with his parents like once every day, and like she'd pinch him before he saw his parents, and then like he'd cry, and the parents would be like, get this fucking kid out of here, he's annoying. And like then she like wouldn't feed him, and I'm like, what the like.
But the way he tells the story is incredible, because he's employing Lionel's techniques. He's struggling to remember this traumatic childhood event, and he's stuttering and can't find the words, and Lionel's like, try singing it. And it strikes the perfect balance of touching, heart-wrenching, and also like a little bit ridiculous, to the where it gives you this emotional swell where he's like, my daddy never fed me.
Yeah, it's like Camptown Races, right? He's like, and she wouldn't feed me food, do not. It's like, oh my God, this is like,
this is so tragic.
It's like absurd and sad at the same time.
But like, it's such a unique moment that I feel like you don't see a lot in movies.
Yeah.
I feel like the film has a lot of those. I'll say on the flip side, this movie looks terrible.
This fucking movie looks like it was made for TV. And I'm like,
it's also framed so weird. Like, characters are like the weird, like, fucking North Pole of the fucking shot. Like, what are we?
He does like a fisheye angle at many points where it's like, why is this frame so wide and like fucking like distorted? Like, what is going on?
I'm no cinematographer. Well, I did win best cinematographer like I think 20 episodes ago, but it's way too dark. I can't see fucking anything. I don't get it. I don't know what. It looks bad.
It's like,
I would advise to fix some shit or remaster it. I don't know.
It's just fucking people having conversations. It's really not that hard to make it look like fine.
You could have shot it on an iPhone and probably done a better job.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie looks like shit. Tom Hooper, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a fucking bad director.
I don't know. I think did Cats look okay?
I think Cats was actually shot on a toilet bowl, so that's...
So how did James Corden look?
Yeah, he looked bad.
Okay.
Okay, here, I can connect two thoughts. The history thing of like, and the monarchy thing. The history thing and where this story, starts and like is taking place is interesting, because it's like suddenly the public is being led into like royals' kind of personal lives, and like in a way that they hadn't before because of the invention of like radio, and like suddenly like speaking and like and interacting with the public is more than just like being seen publicly and getting pictures taken. It's like you have to like actually like be a personality. And I think that is interesting because
in this essay I will.
Yeah, like I think that's interesting in the way that like the movie is critical of like Birdie, the things he tells Lionel over the course of the movie. He's like basically like, yeah, our family like isn't close. Mm-hmm. Like the royal family isn't like a close family. Like we're basically just like almost like business partners.
Right.
And it's like,
which is sad.
We're raised by nannies. our parents are like fucking shitty. We're like upholding like we're not, and also we don't really like we don't serve like a political function. We're literally, I think Colin Firth has this line of like, we're supposed to be like the voice of the people, but like also the movie's kind of about how like Colin Firth, especially like as he interacts with Lionel, he's like, I think he's the Lionel at one point, like, you're the first like common person I've like interacted with like ever. Yeah. Like in an extended way.
Yeah. And it shows.
Yeah. I just think all that stuff's kind of interesting. I don't know.
It's interesting, and I like that it kind of fuels who Birdie is as a character. Because, and listen, this is a real person. King George VI was a real guy. I don't know if he was actually like this in real life. I have my doubts. But he really tries to be more of this down to earth. Like I think what people tend to misunderstand about this movie is that it didn't need to be about royalty. It's not even really about monarchy, at least in my opinion. It's just about a guy learning to speak. And I think what's important to note about Birdie is that he's thrust into monarchy and is trying to figure out how to come to terms with that, but he doesn't want to speak so he can make a political speech. He wants to be a good speaker so he can tell a bedtime story to his kids. I think that's what's important to hold on to here. I do wish the movie had some sort of like postscript where he is reading a bedtime story and, you know, maybe he's more confident in his delivery. I think the movie would have benefited from a scene like that, because I think that's really his Super Bowl. It's not reading the fucking, you know, the wartime speech telling people that we're at war or whatever. I really think it's him just learning to become more confident in himself and forge a family where he really never had one to begin with, and start to create relationships with his kids.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The family stuff is there. There's like enough of it there for like, yeah, like kind of the point you're speaking to. There's enough of it there to like, for the movie, that the movie's about it enough that you're like, oh yeah, this is sort of like a theme of the movie. But I do think, I think I agree with you. Like, I wish there was like one or two more scenes like kind of threading out through, like where like it's sort of maybe another moment where like it kind of built that out a little bit more, and then like, yeah, like a kind of a climax to it that was like some kind of cathartic thing.
Right.
I also think it's kind of interesting that it avoids it though, because it's like the movie is like very understated for, because like we're talking about, like it's not really about like this, like Birdie could be anybody. It's like he's a guy who has like familial trauma, personal trauma, and like that has resulted in a speech impediment. Yeah, it's like that could be anybody, and like now it's like it's affecting, like you're saying, his confidence and like sort of his also his professional life. And like, again, that could also be anybody. It just happens. He just happens to be like the fucking one of the top people in his country. That's like,
right.
But I think for all that stuff, it's still understated. It's like, it's very like about just like this guy and like not like the outside stuff too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, he just happens to be the, you know, the Duke of York and then eventually the king. And, you know, we'll get to reviews later, but a lot of people did have complaints that like, oh, you know, it's about another, you know, we're humanizing a monarch. Like, it's about another like self-serving, blah, 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 like royal family circle jerking, whatever. But the reality is that this movie, we wouldn't be watching this movie if it wasn't about a historic political figure. It wouldn't exist, unfortunately. I do think it would stand alone as just a story about a guy. I think it has enough weight there to hold its own without, you know, having that historical context. I don't think it really needed it, but it did need it to. It's the reason we're watching it, frankly.
Totally. I do love, just like speaking to the historical thing, I also do love, I kind of love the juxtaposition of like some of the old footage of like Hitler that's interspersed, because obviously like Hitler is sort of slowly sweeping across Europe, and like Birdie's watching it and being like, God, that guy can fucking speak.
Yeah, it's a funny thing.
It's like kind of like darkly funny. You're like,
yeah, because it's like it's so much on his mind where he's like, he doesn't feel like a leader, he doesn't feel important, all because of this one thing, this one aspect of his character. And looking at footage of Hitler and be like, damn, that guy could fucking hold a room.
Yeah. Say what you will.
Say what you will.
The guy who
what the hell that guy said, but he's got energy, that guy.
Jesus.
He's got fucking moxie.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie's good.
Yeah. I think it's really good.
Is that it? Are we done?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I think we covered it.
Yeah.
It's a quick. I mean, yeah.
Did you want to hear the? I mean, since we're done with talking about the movie, did you want to hear the other nominees?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. This is a fucking kind of stacked year.
Not that we're biased.
Yeah. I mean, I like King's Speech just fine, but there's like 3 other movies in here that I think could have and should have won.
Okay.
All right. So first up, King's Speech obviously wins.
Nice.
Next up, we have Black Swan.
Oh, a movie I had not seen this.
A Darren Aronofsky joint. I remember allegedly watching this online illegally.
Yes, allegedly.
In my memory, it's good. It's really good, actually. I haven't seen it since 2010, though. It stars Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis. And it's a journey through the psyche of a young ballerina whose starring role as the duplicitous Swan Queen turns out to be a part for which she becomes frighteningly perfect. It's sort of like a psychological horror movie. Yeah.
That movie, I know one thing and one thing only about that movie that will remain nameless.
No.
Viewers at home know what I'm talking about.
Don't be a pervert on our show.
For King's Speech, I gotta show my true colors.
No, there's actually a scene that like I still think about from that movie, and it's not the scene you're talking about, where like, you know, as Natalie Portman's slowly losing her mind, at one point she has like a piece of loose skin on her finger and she pulls it and it like runs up her finger.
Ugh.
And I think about it like it's just like a little nasty piece of body horror. Like every once in a while, I'm like, ugh, that shit's fucking disgusting.
What a good fun little thing to put in your movie. It's just like let's just really upset some folks. I like that.
What's an image that'll stay with somebody for the next 14 years?
How do we haunt a 14-year-old?
Next up we have The Fighter.
Wow.
Starring Mark Wahlberg.
I've seen like bits and pieces of this.
And Christian Bale is like an emaciated drug addict. I think he won Best Supporting Actor. Directed by David O. Russell, The Fighter is a drama about boxer, quote, Irish Mickey Ward's unlikely road to the world light welterweight title. His Rocky-like rise is shepherded by half-brother Dickie, a boxer turned trainer who rebounded in life after nearly being KO'd by drugs and crime. That's like such a punny synopsis on Letterboxd. I'm like, why are you saying it like that?
He was nearly KO'd by drugs and crime.
Yeah, God, don't you just hate when you're almost knocked out by drugs and crime?
Yeah, he OD'd, actually. It's pretty sad.
Yeah. In my memory, I've seen The Fighter. In my memory, like, pretty good movie.
It's not a Mark Wahlberg kind of like yelling at folks, and yeah.
You've never seen this movie?
No, not in entirety.
Do you think you'll ever see The Fighter in full?
Yeah, I do, actually. Okay. Weirdly, I have a premonition about it.
Gotcha.
It's gonna appear before me, and I won't be able to move.
Got it. You're gonna
my dreams.
You're gonna have sleep paralysis. So it's just playing before your eyes.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is my sleep paralysis demon.
The Fighter.
Show me The fucking Fighter.
The Fighter seems like a movie that now probably plays on TNT like every other Saturday.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is why I think I'll see it.
Yeah. Next up we have, I don't know if you've heard of this movie, Inception.
All right, let's fucking knuckle up, huh?
All right, we're quietly gonna do a mini episode on Inception right now.
Well, so here's the thing. We kind of had our mini episode on Inception when we did Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I talked about how we saw it and we were obsessed with it.
Yeah. So let's just say we would both pick this movie, obviously, to win Best Picture.
I might pick one movie
Wow.
over Inception. I do.
Wow.
Inception is a 5-star movie to me, though. I love Inception. I rewatched it before Oppenheimer came out.
This is fucking mutiny.
I showed it to my SO, and she said it was goofy as hell, and I was like, "You bet your ass it is."
Yeah,
It
you bet
fucking
your
rocks. Every second rocks.
God, it's so good, dude.
It's so good. A perfect film.
Truly.
It's about a guy who steals people's dreams. He's a dream. He's a dry meister.
He's a dry meister. See, they should have had Mark Wahlberg as a fucking sleep paralysis demon in this movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's got a stacked cast.
You're gonna love it. If you're listening to this right now, you're gonna love this shit. It's a movie about dream thieves. Go see it.
It fucking rocks. Got fucking DiCaprio, Hardy, Elliot Page is in it. Fucking JGL, Killian's there.
If you like foghorns, you're gonna love this shit.
Next up, we have The Kids Are All Right.
The hell's that?
I'll tell you. It's directed by Lisa Cholodenko.
Okay.
Stars Julianne Moore, Annette Bening, Mark Ruffalo, Mia Wasikowska, Josh Hutcherson.
No way.
Two women, Nick and Jules, brought a son and daughter into the world through artificial insemination. When one of their children reaches age, both kids go behind their mother's back to meet with the donor, who I think is Mark Ruffalo. Life becomes so much more interesting when the father, two mothers, and children start to become attached to each other. It's one of those.
If you found out you were a product of artificial insemination, would you want to meet the guy who jerked off into a cup for you?
I don't know. Obviously, this is all like hypothetical. I don't know that I'd really care that much.
No, I don't think I would either. Like, I feel like that person would be kind of a non-entity in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really get this fixation on I gotta find out who my biological dad is, when he was probably just a guy who needed however much they paid you for donating sperm.
Yeah, totally.
What do you think the going rate is? Good to guess.
Probably not that much, right? I could have sperm to you in 5 minutes.
Nice. Hey, nice. But I think it's more like the moral weight. The moral weight of like, okay, now you're someone's father that you'll never get to meet. Right?
Yeah, well, there's that movie.
That's where the cost factors in.
There's that movie, The Donor, with Vince Vaughn, where he has like 150 kids because like he donates to the sperm bank constantly.
That's such a great concept too, by the way. Also came out in 2010.
So yeah, I don't know. The Kids Are All Right. Sounds like it's like a quirky indie movie.
Apparently $100 to $120 per donation visit, by the way.
How much?
It's about $120. So I was pretty close.
Whoa, so you can go to a sperm bank and just do that? You could make serious cash.
And I bet you people do.
Holy shit.
What if donating
what if I made my side
hustle
hustle just like donating sperm?
Listen, this is not even an article. This is just like the Google little snippet that it gives
so
you.
It's accurate, is what you're saying.
So it's totally accurate. And it says, on average, sperm donors are paid between $100 to $120 plus per donation visit. Donating once or twice a week, donors earn an average of $4,000 in 6 months. This varies by location and donor.
Holy shit.
$4,000 in 6 months? Are you... Look at you.
That's
look at the thoughts across your mind.
Because that's so easy. It's
so easy, yeah. Like, I'm doing this for free.
I've been doing this for free for like honestly half my life at this point.
Yeah.
You're telling me
pay up.
Tell me I can get cash for it. Why have I never thought of that? I have to get into that grind set mindset.
Yeah, you gotta, but well, easy, because then like, you don't want to taint that sperm. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't want to produce a bunch of Sigma grind setters. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna start drinking protein powder raw and see.
Yeah,
it'll probably make those kids fucking bulky and tight as hell, dope as hell.
I'm gonna start just huffing protein powder in the donation center and just
You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna read that Elon Musk autobiography that just came out.
as I jerk off into a cup.
Those kids need to learn how the American dream works.
Yes, goddamn right. Cheers to the
Anyway.
future.
If I'm suddenly $10,000 richer on this podcast, you'll know why.
Don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions. Unless you're the IRS. Next up, we have 127 Hours.
This was nominated?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Danny
I'll be
Boyle movie.
honest. Okay. No, go through it. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us.
It's the movie he made. It was his next movie after Slumdog Millionaire, which we will cover on this show.
Oh.
And it's the true story of mountain climber Aaron Ralston's remarkable adventure I'm going to call it an adventure, to save himself after a fallen boulder crashes on his arm and traps him in an isolated canyon in Utah.
It's not quite sensitive, but all right.
Yeah, starring James Franco as Aaron Ralston. This is a really upsetting movie.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is another... We know this for one scene, and one scene only in this movie.
It's a movie where it's like, you see it once and you're like, I get it.
Yeah. See, I had the impression, being like a young teenager, I did have an impression that it was a harrowing movie, so I didn't see it in full. I remember like going downstairs to, my parents were watching it, and they were like, my parents like notoriously never have any idea what any movie is going into it. So like, I don't know, we were watching some hiking movie. Do you want to watch it? And I was like, no thanks. I heard some rumors about that thing.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, 127 Hours. It's like fine. I don't know.
Franco.
Well made. Danny Boyle's a good director.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where?
Next up, we have what should have won Best Picture, to me. We saw it. You, me, and Ryan saw it in an outlet mall.
Yeah. That's right.
I won't say where because people don't need to know that. But
Don't geolocate us.
The Social Network,
Yeah.
directed by David Fincher,
Yeah.
about Mark Zuckerberg making Facebook. It is probably, I think it's maybe the best movie of the 2010s. Maybe the most important movie of the 2010s. It is a masterpiece. It is Jesse Eisenberg fucking crushes it. Fucking Andrew Garfield is so fucking good in it.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake's good. Armie Hammer, who never did anything wrong, is not a cannibal in the slightest.
Don't believe this.
Really good in it. It has a fucking incredible script by Aaron Sorkin. It fucking is like a once in a lifetime movie. That's how good it is.
I think it's a great movie. I think it goes toe to toe with King's Speech, though. I think those movies are on equal plane. And here's kind of what upsets me about some of the King's Speech disdain that exists out there that I've stumbled upon. Here's what disturbs me about it a bit, is that there's a lot of complaints about we should not be humanizing, monarchy. But then those same people will turn around and praise the Social Network for humanizing a modern day technocrat and Mark Zuckerberg, who's like, oh, actually, he was just a fucking horny college student who stumbled upon this brilliant idea. And isn't that just the American dream? It's the same concept.
I don't think the Social Network humanizes. Well, I don't think it actually kind of does. It's like sort of like this guy. To me, why that movie's so good is like, I feel like when the movie came out, Mark Zuckerberg is like, oh, it's not accurate. That's not how I am or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but the movie is almost like archetyping what Mark Zuckerberg represents and has come to represent, which is like kind of like a guy who thinks and like fucking, who like sees people as fucking like pieces on a board, who sees like relationships as information to be used, calculated, and like redirected. Like
Right.
which is a very modern kind of person, like because it's so influenced by like how technology has evolved and where it's going and where it's come from and stuff. I don't know. That's what I'll say to that.
I guess in my opinion, he is unequivocally those things, and it's not really. I do feel like it does humanize him. Like he's just presented as. Maybe it does provide a little bit of both sides, but mostly he's like just a college student, and it's like, oh, here's this rinky-dink idea and how it was propelled into this massive financial success. I think it's a great movie for sure. It looks way better than The King's Speech for sure.
Social Network's a good looking movie.
It's gorgeous, yeah. But I don't know. I like both of them equally, and maybe I'll get some shit for that, but that's fine. I can take it.
I think The Social Network gets a boon, and people are like, why didn't this win? Because it's like, it's like more of the moment. It's like this like just happened like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But they are both now with like some distance, they're both just like kind of historical, which is weird, but it's like
It's weird, but you're right.
they are like historical fictitious versions of not like non-fictional event. Like it's historical nonfiction, but like, you know, it's narrative.
But we wouldn't have called it that in 2010
Yeah.
because that was very much recent.
Yeah. The next up, a movie me and Ryan saw also.
Shut up.
Toy Story 3.
Oh. Damn. Damn, dude.
Toy Story is so important to me. I grew up watching the first two movies like obsessively. And I love Toy Story 3. I love Toy Story 4. I think
Toy Story 4 is good.
Toy Story 4 is maybe a little
Story
rated.
I mean, they create sentient life in Toy Story 4, and that's really just not addressed. We don't get the implications of that. Forky is a living being that Woody created. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, but
it's kind of the only movie to deal with like, okay, but why are these things alive? How do they become alive?
And I think that's the problem. I think that's the issue. We didn't have to think about it. It could have just been glossed over. But once we start getting into the details of it, it's like, okay, some of this shit is fucked.
It's like Toy Story is the kind of movie that works better when you don't have lore, but suddenly when there's lore, it's like, well, what the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah, why the fuck are these? Where did they come from then?
Yeah.
Where did they gain sentience from?
Toy Story
3 that's a masterpiece.
I agree.
Maybe my favorite Pixar movie. It's like kind of a toss up, but it could be argued. That's me. God, it's not better than Inception, but it's definitely like that's another 5-star masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I watched this video recently with Michael Arndt. He wrote Toy Story 3, and like he posted like a whole like hour and a half video just talking about what it was like to write that movie and why like certain story decisions were made and how like they were perfected over the course of making the movie. As really interesting. And then that video convinced me. I'm like, oh yeah, Toy Story is a perfect film.
You know, we've touched on our age during this era of filmmaking, but like we were getting ready to go to college, and perhaps we were also like the most sensitive age, you know, to be receiving that. Like Pixar, those bastards timed it out perfectly. They were like, okay, so if you saw Toy Story 1, you were probably like between 5 and 8, and now these kids are probably like between 14 and 18.
Yeah.
So let's make a movie geared towards that, and it tugged at the heartstrings because you know, we're getting ready for a next, you know, big phase of our lives, and Andy was doing the same thing. So there are these parallels of what it means to grow up and become an adult and move on from some of the things from your past. But really great, and one of the, I would say, more mature Pixar movies.
Next up, we have another 5-star movie that I love, True Grit.
Oh. Okay, so I was confused with Jonah Hex.
That's another movie I meant to get to. I saw that in a theater. That movie is barely 70 minutes long, and it is a wild piece of shit.
Okay. Got it.
No, True Grit is a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. Jeff Bridges stars as
Which one has Megan Fox?
Jonah Hex.
Got it. So that's where my
Both have Josh
okay.
Brolin though.
That's so confusing. Why did he do that?
Josh
Just what the
Brolin
heck is
plays
that?
Jonah Hex, and then in True Grit he plays like a very minor support, not a very important but minor in terms of screen time supporting character.
Okay.
True Grit, following the murder, it's about after the murder of her father by a hired hand, a 14-year-old farm girl sets out to capture the killer. To aid her, she hires the toughest U.S. Marshal she can find, Reuben J. Rooster Cogburn, played by Jeff Bridges.
Oh, that's awesome name.
And Matt Damon tags along too. He plays a character named LaBeouf.
Shia?
Yep. This movie rocks. It's so good. The book is the Charles Portis novel fucking rocks too, and I recommend that as well.
Oh, okay.
The final nominee of this year. A movie, honestly, I gotta say. Winter's Bone.
No.
Yes.
No.
Kind of, I think, the debut of Jennifer Lawrence.
Wasn't she in Hunger Games?
Yeah. The
Didn't that come out?
Hunger Games was, I think the first one was 2012. Yeah,
Not
2 years
bad.
later. I think it's so funny. Like 14 years is simultaneously a long time and a short time. Like, it's crazy to me that I'm like, wait, Jennifer Lawrence, I've only known about Jennifer Lawrence for 14 years. It seems like she's been around my whole life, but it's like, well, yeah, she's been around since I was like, she's been around half my life.
Yeah, dude, that's how time works. I don't know.
Fuck you, man.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's just weird. It's like, she feels like she's been around forever, but she's like, she's only 34. Winter's Bone, she was 20 years old. And it's like, that was only a couple years ago that she like, I don't know. What's your problem? What? No, shut the fuck up for a second. What the fuck is your problem?
My problem is she feels like she's been around for the amount of time she's been around and not a moment longer or shorter. That's just my take.
17-year-old Ree Dolly sets out to track down her
Hate this
father,
fucking show.
who put their ass up for his bail bond and then disappeared. If she
They
fails, Ree and her family will be turned out into the Ozark Woods. Ever heard of the woods out there?
Shout out to fucking Jason Bateman.
I was going to say. Challenging her outlaw kin's code of silence and risking her life, Ree hacks through the lies, evasions, and threats offered up by her relatives and begins to piece together the truth. That movie sounds good. Directed by Deborah Granick.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Inception's complicated, so I don't know.
No, that movie's
a shot.
easy.
It took us 3 times in order to figure out what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the nominees for this year. I would have chosen True Grit. I would have chosen Toy Story 3. I would have chosen Inception. I would have chosen The Social Network over King's Speech. But, Ander, do you think King's Speech is Best Picture worthy?
So I guess this probably defies my own criteria for what is Best Picture worthy, because there is a movie here that I do like more than The King's Speech. I mean,
Got him, folks. Got him.
But I will still say that this is a Oscar worthy movie.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Why to you is it an Oscar worthy movie?
Well, for one, it's good. It's entertaining. I enjoy it. But it also feels important. And I don't know if that's important to me per se, but it feels right for the Academy.
Yeah.
So I do think it's Best Picture worthy.
Okay.
You disagree?
Huh?
You disagree? You just think there's too much above it. It's not the cream of the crop. Is that fair
I
to
guess
say?
so. I guess maybe that's what it comes down to. See, it's interesting how you interpret the question, because it seems like the way you interpret it is a little bit like, well, that's not true though. I'm
In the past, I've said that it should be what the best movie is in my opinion,
Right.
but it's not. That's maybe not quite fair. And it's a little bit of a different argument, you know, when I'm familiar with the movies in the 2010s, whereas in the 1940s, I don't know what 3 coins in the fountain is. You know, it's harder to make that argument because I only know the one movie that won. So I'm like, does it feel like Oscar worthy? Yes or no? Whereas in this case, it's like, okay, well now there's competition. Like, is it more Oscar worthy than fucking True Grit? I don't know. But I do think it's Oscar worthy.
In terms of thinking about Best Picture worthiness, like, do you think a movie should represent, like, do you think the best movie of the year should be the one that best represents the year that it came out? Or do you think, like, it can kind of, I mean, I'm not saying the Academy does this, but do you think there's any validity to, like, a movie being the right movie for its time, and when you look back being like, oh yeah, that was the year fucking, I don't know, whatever came out, and like that's
a good point, because I do think there's value in that. And that's something that The Social Network has over The King's Speech, is that it feels of the times. Whereas I do sometimes get frustrated with some of these period pieces, because it's like, especially if it's an earlier one, you know, like from I can't stand a fucking 1960s movie that takes place in the 1940s, because I don't know I wasn't alive in either era, so I don't know what it's referencing. I don't know, like, I'll then get confused and conflate those two things. I was alive in the 2010s, so I obviously know that fucking The King's Speech didn't happen then. But I do get frustrated. I think Best Picture winners should reflect the times that they come from. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't mean it has to take place in the modern day. But I do think Social Network was very current, just not only in terms of the time period it took place, but just in terms of its content. Like, it felt very sharp and 2010s-y. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
yeah,
I think it showcased some of the not necessarily the trappings, but some of the characteristics of what it was like to be alive in the 2010s. So I guess Social Network does, I will admit, it does have that edge over The King's Speech, but I think they're both very good movies.
Yeah, I guess I do basically feel like the Best Picture winner should represent the times in some way. And I think when it doesn't, that's why it feels even worse. Like Green Book winning, you're like, in 2018, you're like, this feels so out of touch. But then the next year, Parasite wins, and you're like, that feels like a very good pick for 2019.
Yeah.
Everything Everywhere All at Once feels like a very good pick for 2022. Oppenheimer, like you were saying, like, even though Oppenheimer, you know, it takes place during like kind of World War II era,
it still did feel of the times. Yeah,
it feels like it is as important a movie now.
Yeah.
So I don't think King's Speech, maybe by that criteria, is Best Picture worthy.
Okay.
That's King's Speech, people.
I don't know if I want to read reviews.
That's fine. Who cares?
I got them. I think I would rather devote more time to the nominees.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I don't think they've said anything that we haven't also said.
All right. Next week, we're talking a Wesley Ruggles joint.
No way.
We're talking Cimarron.
Well,
the 1932 Best Picture winner.
Whoa, ancient. Go meet your aunt. Oh, okay.
In some little pieces.
Yeah.
Freeze them so they're kind of like ice cubes.
Yeah.
Put them in your mouth.
Yeah.
And try and recite To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet.
You idiot.
With mustard.
Delicious.
See you next week. Wieners.
1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white, maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners.
The A-Team I saw in a theater.
Oh, I saw that with you.
We saw that together?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, I remember when the A-Team came out. That was like probably in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. I love that shit so much.